Hi everybody, Jeremy here from Video Editor Studio, and today I'm going to share with you how to recreate the Cyberpunk Edgeburner opening in DaVinci Resolve. It's not too complicated, but there's a lot of steps, but don't worry, we're going to see that together. We're not going to be recreating the entire opening because that would take way more than one video, but we're going to recreate one frame of that opening, and hopefully we're going to just debunk all the technique that I use to create such effects. So if you're ready, let's get into it.
Alright, so the first thing that I want to do is to gather some images to create that effect. So we're going to go over to Unsplash, which is a free copyright images website. You can then search for whatever image you want to display in the background. In our case, that's going to be urban. So I'm just going to search for urban, and I'm going to download a bunch of images of cities, urban environment, etc. So here, I'm just going to download a bunch of them. Just make a selection of 12 images of the image that you like the most, because we're going to create a 1-second sequence with one image being 2 frames. Once you've selected your 12 images, we're going to need to have someone walking. So here I'm going to search for walking. And here in our case, that's perfect. Like in the first choice, we get this image from Jad Limakako, which is just a guy walking. And it's a silhouette which will match perfectly what we're trying to do. But you can select just any image that you like. Right now, we're just trying to do something that is as similar as possible to the opening. So that would fit perfectly for that. Now that we got all our resources, we can just select all our urban images, and then we can just drag them into DaVinci Resolve. Then we're going to select all our images, right click on it, and here click on change clip duration. We're going to switch from time to frame, and here we're going to change the duration for 2. That's going to be 2 frame. Then hit enter to change. Then here to delete the gap between each images, we can go over to edit, and here we can just scroll to delete gap and just select that, and it just compress all our image together. Now let's zoom in. Here I'm going to go to my inspector, just scroll down to retime and scaling. And then here I'm just going to switch the scaling from object setting to fill. That's just going to stretch all images that are not at the right size. And right now we have everything that is just fill up the frame. Prior to that, we had some images that were vertical, and we had some excess black here on the border. And right now, by just doing that change, we're just filling up completely our frame. Now, because of that, if now you want to reframe, depending on the image that you get, for example, this one, that could be nice to just reframe it a bit by bringing the position to the bottom a little bit, so we have more of the street and less of the pavement. So if you want to do that, that will be the time to do that. So then you can just reframe everything one by one. Now, once you're happy with your reframing, you can just select all your images once again, copy them, and then go at the end of your images and just paste them 5 times. So here, we're going to paste them the first time, second, third, fourth, and 5th. There's just going to be 5 seconds of animation, 6 seconds actually. And basically right now we just loop that sequence 5 times. So if we play it, we get that loop going on and going on. Perfect. That's going to be our starting point to create that effect. Now let's just select all our picture, and we're just going to right click on it and select new compound clip to have only one clip. All right, now that we have our compound clip, we're just going to duplicate it. So right now on Mac, I'm going to hold Option. For Windows, that will be Alt, and then you can just drag that on the second track. Then on that second clip, we're simply going to reduce here the size and drag it on the corner of the image, because that's what we're going to use for the character that will be on the right corner of the image around here. And we want to have a bit of a different layout, so it just doesn't look the same. Now I have my 2 clip prepare. I'm just going to select both of them, right click on it, and we're going to create a new Fusion clip. Now let's move over to Fusion. Now in Fusion, I have my 2 clips. I have this first one that's going to be our main background clip, and I have this one that's going to be the character clip. So I'm just going to delete the merge. We're going to save this media too. I'm just going to rename it so we stay clear. So I'm just going to hit F2 on my keyboard to prompt open the rename window. And here we're going to rename that character background. And then I'm going to do the same thing here with my media in. I'm going to hit F2 on my keyboard and rename it main background. Now let's bring the media out to the viewer. Now let's get started. The first thing that we're going to need to do is creating a simple grid just to give a bit more texture to the background, like it's done on the original intro. To do that, I'm going to hit Shift Space on my keyboard, and here I'm going to search for S rectangle. And I'm going to bring that in. Then I'm going to hit Shift Space again, search for S grid, bring that in, and then Shift Space once more, search for S transform, and then one last time hit Shift Space, and we're going to search for a S render. Then we can just link the output of the S render to the main background. I'm going to go to my S rectangle, link the width and the height with an expression by selecting my width, then click expression and link the width to the height. Then we can just change here the height from 0.5 to 0.004. Then I'm going to go over to style, and I'm going to switch from white to black. Then I'm gonna go over to SGrid. Here I'm gonna change 3 to 250 copy, and then grid cell Y same, 250. And then here for the offset, we're gonna go with 0.005, and same with the Y, 0.005. Now I'm gonna go to the transform. Here we're gonna change the rotation to 45. And now I'm just gonna bring a background, bring that here in my working area, and I'm just gonna unlink the sRender, link that sRender to the background, and then just bring that to the viewer. Then I'm gonna go to the background, change from black to white. And here we have our grid. That's what's gonna help us to give texture to the footage. We could use that directly, but it's gonna drastically slow down our project. So what we're gonna do instead is we're gonna export just a PNG of that file, and we're gonna use the PNG of the file rather than all the nodes. So here I'm gonna go to the viewer, right click on it, and then we can just scroll to save image, click on it. Here we're just gonna name it grid, and we're gonna change the file from all file to PNG file. Then let's just save that. Right now I already have one, I'm just gonna replace it. Then we can just bring the PNG that we just exported in our working area and delete what we've used to create that background. I'm gonna select it, hit F2 on our keyboard and just rename that grid. And then we can just connect it to our merge tool right there. Now we're gonna select the merge tool and adjust the blending mode. So we're gonna reduce that drastically just to give it a tiny bit of texture. So about 0.05 will be good, I think. It's pretty subtle, but it will really help to give more texture to the background. Now I'm just gonna reposition a bit my merge and my grid to make some space. Then here I'm gonna select my merge tool, hit shift space on the keyboard, and we're gonna search for a color corrector. So here I'm just gonna select my color corrector and bring that in. And then on the original opening, it's like a bluish color. So I'm just gonna go toward like a bluish cyan. And I think about there will be fine, just like a good cyan. But feel free to pick any color you like. Now we have our main background, perfect. Now let's move to the next step, which is creating the character on the corner of the screen. So the first thing is we're gonna need to create here the floor where the character is walking. To do that, I'm gonna bring a new background and I'm gonna link the output of that background here to the color corrector to merge it. And then we're gonna select the background, hit shift space on our keyboard, search for transform and bring a new transform node. Then I'm just gonna bring that down and we're just gonna create the pavement that way. Now I'm gonna bring in the image that I've selected at the beginning. So here, that's the image of the guy walking, and we're just gonna trace it to create a mask. So here I'm just gonna select it, and then I'm gonna click the polygon, and then here in the inspector, I'm just gonna click invert, and we're gonna just start tracing it. So I'm gonna zoom in into my image. So here I'm gonna zoom in 100%, and then I'm gonna just start to trace the contour of this guy walking. I'm gonna speed it up because that's just not too interesting if you see me do that for 5 minutes, but just try to be as precise as possible. But it doesn't matter so much because first off, it's a silhouette and the guy gonna be scaled down considerably after. All right, perfect. We've created our mask. Now we can just unzoom. And then here, I'm just gonna untick invert. So it's just only the inside of the mask. So now we're gonna add our character to our main composition. So first off, I'm just gonna delete here that media in, because that was just serving the purpose for us to create the mask. Now that we have the mask, we don't need it anymore. We're just gonna need a new background here to serve as a canvas. I'm gonna reduce the alpha channel down to 0. So we have transparency. And then I'm just gonna use here that background and link the character background to this background that we just added, and then I'm gonna link the polygon mask that we created to that merge. So again, here we have the character background that we've created, which is the clip. Then we have merged that with the canvas here of the background that is transparent, so yellow arrow. And then here we've just linked to the mask input, the polygon mask that we just created. And now we're just gonna link the output of that merge to the main composition. So now it's just bringing the character into our main composition. We're just gonna adjust the position and put him here on the pavement. So I'm just gonna select polygon, and here we're just gonna select all the point, and we're gonna select shape box, and then we're just free to move it around like so. We're just gonna flip it, so like that, and then I'm just gonna bring it down to the pavement. I'm gonna zoom in to just make sure that it's properly aligned with the pavement. So here we're gonna maybe zoom 400 just to be sure that we're good. Here like that seems nice. Then unzoom a little bit just to make sure the size seems right. So here I'm just gonna make it maybe a bit smaller and then just completely zoom out. I think the proportion seems pretty right, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. It seems fine. Now we're gonna need to add some color to it. So to do that, we're gonna need a new background. So I'm gonna just move here my media out. I'm gonna bring a new background in my working area, and then I'm just gonna link the output of that background to the merge to bring it into the main composition. Then we're gonna connect our mask to that background right here, so it's affecting only our character. And then we're gonna switch here from solid color to gradient. So my first color here gonna be red, and my second color gonna be purple. Then we can just adjust those points so it's affecting the character the way we want. So here I'm just gonna put the purple around the head and then the red around the feet. I'm happy with this, but now because the background for now is solid, we don't see the footage behind it. So we're gonna need to reduce the alpha channel. So here I'm gonna bring the alpha channel down to maybe 0.5. And I'm gonna do the same thing here with the red and bring the alpha channel down to 0.5 as well. Now if I play it, I'm fairly happy with the result, but here it just looked too similar, the footage that is inside of the character and the footage that is the background footage. So we could change that in two ways. The first one will be to offset, so it's not the exact same footage here on the character. So we could just delay the timing or make a completely new sequence for the character. That will be a possibility, but right now I'm just gonna go with something a bit more simple by bringing here a new transform. So I'm gonna select my character background, hit shift space on the keyboard, bring a new transform, and then here we're just gonna reduce the size of the footage just to make it a bit more different, and then just displace it so it's just another spot that is affected rather than having a similar spot in the corner. And if we play it, the pattern is a bit more different in my opinion. You can just play around with that and just move it to another spot in the frame that seems to work better for the sequence that you have. So now we have the background, we have the character, we're gonna create the text. So I'm just gonna bring here a new text node and I'm gonna just link that to my merge. And here we're just gonna write creative support and I'm gonna switch the font to Poppin. We're gonna leave it as bold and I'm just gonna reduce the size. So here, the size like this, just bring that a little bit up to have some space. And then here we're just gonna bring a new text, link that text again to the main composition. And then we're just gonna write here whatever you want. So for my case, because I'm replicating, I'm gonna write just Hiromi Wakabayashi. For the font, I'm gonna select Basement Grotesque. I'm gonna adjust the size, make it a bit bigger. Then I'm gonna go over to transform and here shear, and I'm gonna adjust a bit the X shear to slightly deform the font. So like that, I think it's fine. And then here I'm gonna go over to size and I'm gonna make some deformation a bit to the height as well. So here I'm just gonna go to the Y and I'm just gonna increase that a little bit. And then here in spacing, I'm just gonna reduce the spacing. I'm just trying to get close to the original look of the opening because I didn't find exact similar font to what was displayed in the opening. So that's just the best I can do right now. I'm just gonna position that properly and then we can just select all text, copy it and then paste it to retain all the modification that I've made to the shear and the size. And then we can just link it here to the merge. And then I'm gonna name it the second line. So Wakabayashi, bring the position down, reduce the size. And here actually I'm gonna go back to this first one and I'm gonna make it a tiny bit bigger. So here I'm just gonna increase the size a little bit and bring the position down like that. Go back to my creative support and then align that properly. Now we have the background, the character and the text. It's just the time to do the last effect to just tie everything together and create the animation. So the first thing is we're gonna need a second background. So here I'm gonna bring a new background in our working area. I'm gonna disconnect the merge to the media out and instead I'm gonna connect the merge to the new background that we added and then connect that merge to the media out. Then here for the background, we're gonna switch the color for yellow. And now we're gonna go over to the beginning of our composition and we're gonna bring a new polygon mask in our working area. We're gonna link it to the main background and we're gonna link it to the grid. And now basically we're gonna draw a building skyline. The first thing is that right now there is, for whatever reason, a keyframe that have been placed automatically. I don't want that to happen, so I'm just gonna remove that keyframe. And then here, I'm gonna take the position of my polygon and I'm gonna bring it down below the pavement right there. Now we can just unzoom from our viewer. So we're going to select 50 and we're going to draw our skyline. We're going to make sure that we create a quite big skyline because we're going to deform it after with the X rotation and the Y rotation. So it needs to be larger than the frame. So here I'm going to draw 2 building blocks. So I'm going to drop my first point below the pavement right there. And then I'm just going to go straight up. A quick tip is that you can hold shift to keep a straight line. So here I'm just going to hold shift the entire time I'm drawing to keep a straight line no matter what I'm doing. So here I'm just gonna make a second line and then I'm gonna go up again and I'm just gonna continue like that until I finish to draw. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know, just make a random shape of skyline and it will do the job perfectly fine. Now I'm gonna make some space between those two. So here I'm just gonna go a bit forward and I'm just gonna make basically like, you know, a gap and continue to draw the second building. And now once you're done, you can just come here and close the loop. If you don't feel comfortable just doing it randomly like I've done it, there is really nothing complicated about it. Just do a bunch of shape and see how it feels. Otherwise, you can just take a picture of a skyline on Unsplash and do the same process that we've done for the character. Just outline the skyline and then you can just use that. Then here on the Y rotation, I'm gonna just change that for 50. And as you can see, it has compressed what we've drawn. That's why we need to just draw it bigger than the frame. Now we're gonna do the animation in just a second, but first I'm gonna need to create the mask for the text. So now we can just go back to the 3 texts that we've created. I'm just gonna make some space between them so we can paste instances in between. So here, right there, I'm just gonna select my first text, just copy it, paste the second instances, and link that to the merge. Then I'm gonna repeat the same process for the second text, paste instances, link that to the merge, and then we're gonna do the exact same thing here for the last text. I'm gonna just select it, then paste instances, and then link that to the merge as well. Now I'm gonna just change the color of each of my text here from white to black. Same for text 2, from white to black, and same for text 3, from white to black. Now we can go to each instance and go to shading and here right click on red and the instance color group, and now we can just switch that color from black to white and repeat the same process for instance text 2. Go to shading, then we can de-instance the color group and switch to white, and same for the first text. Go to the instance, shading, the instance color group, and then white. Now we can go back to our polygon mask and connect it to each instance text. And as you can see now, every time the mask gonna just go above the text, it's gonna switch to white. So here I'm just gonna repeat the process, connect my polygon to the second instance text. And I'm gonna do that for the third one as well. Connect that polygon mask to the last instance text. All right, just let me try to explain quickly what we just did. So here, if we take the Wakabashi, for example, we have 2 Wakabashi text, okay? We got 1 Wakabashi text that is black, and we got 1 Wakabashi text that is white, all right? But as you can see, the white text, we've applied the mask to it, meaning that everything that is outside the mask just gonna disappear. So that means in that case that it's gonna be black because we still have some black outside of that mask, okay? And what is inside the mask gonna be white. That's what allows us to just create that effect where the outside of the mask is black and the inside of the mask is white. I hope that's clarified things. It's a bit tricky to explain, but I hope that makes sense. Now we've pretty much done our complete layout. We just need to make the final animation on the buildings. To do that, we're gonna go back to our polygon. And then here, I'm just gonna unzoom again to see a bit more what I'm doing. And we're gonna make some adjustment here to the X rotation. So now let's make our X rotation minus maybe 35. I think that will work. Let's do, yeah, like that, 35, just to incline those buildings. That's gonna be our final position. So here we're gonna go to our last frame and we're gonna drop a keyframe on the X rotation and we're gonna drop a keyframe on the position. For the position, I'm just gonna continue to move it a bit forward like so. And now I'm gonna go to frame 0 and we're gonna move the position so the building is starting around there, and then we're gonna drop the X rotation down to -85. Let's see what that looks. I think it's fine like that. At the beginning of the opening, we can see a bit of the building appearing to the frame. Just now, I'm just gonna move a bit forward again the position, and I think we're good that way. Now cool, let's play it. Perfect, and I'm pretty happy with the result.
All right, and that's pretty much it. That's how to create Cyberpunk Edge Runner opening in DaVinci Resolve. Hope this video was helpful. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comment what kind of video you would like to see next, and see you in the next one. Bye.
Speed up your workflow and create better videos using the pack available on our website, including titles, transition, and templates built only for DaVinci Resolve. Get started today by downloading our free starter pack containing a compilation of 20 titles curated from our library. Link in the description below or at videodjstudio.com.